Hello friends, welcome back to my kitchen. My name is Becky if you're new, and today we're going to be doing some Christmas baking. We're going to be making two different things today. The first thing we're going to make is a traditional Dutch pastry that is traditionally made at Christmas time. So Josh, on both Josh's dad's side of the family and his mom's side of the family, are Dutch, and they are from, what is it? I wrote it down. DeMont, Indiana, right? Your mom's from DeMont.
That's right, and South Bend.
And your dad is from close to there. And they are, both sides happen to be Dutch. There's a really big, I was talking to my mother-in-law today to get a little bit of history of the family and this Christmas dessert. And there's a big Dutch community in that part of...
My dad was from Chicago.
Yes.
I think southern Chicago.
And most of Josh's mom's grandparents actually were from South Holland, Indiana. So very, very Dutch. And this is a pastry that they would have every year. And when I joined Josh's family, they would have it every Christmas. And at first I didn't like the pastry, but now it is delicious and it's not Christmas without it. So I'm gonna show you how to make it. It's super simple and it is very delicious. The second thing we're gonna make is eggnog today. So let me know if you guys like eggnog or not. I have to have it every Christmas and we're gonna make a homemade version. It's super easy and I like to make eggnog lattes this time of year. I usually only make it once a year. Haven't made it yet, so we're gonna do that today. So the first thing we need to do is
We have a quick correction.
Oh, say.
Actually, a couple things.
Oh,
so it's
okay.
South Holland, Illinois. My mom just messaged that.
Oh, good.
And then we have a couple super chats.
Oh, okay.
That I will acknowledge. So we have Lisa's Garden Journey. She sent $10. And then we have a message from Eleni, sorry if I'm messing that up, that says, Merry Christmas to everyone from Greece. May you all be blessed.
Awesome. Merry Christmas, everyone. I haven't even said Merry Christmas, so thank you. This is a very special recipe card. This is Josh's grandma's recipe card. I ended up with a whole Ziploc bag full of Josh's grandma's recipe cards, and this is hers for Banket. So I don't make it though the way that she has it written, and I'm going to talk with you about it. I will link both the Banket and eggnog recipe down in the description box. Josh already has them down there, and I will walk you through how I make it, and I will talk with you why I changed it up just a little bit from Josh's grandma. So what we're going to do is we have to make the pastry first. Now this is Josh's grandma's pastry recipe, and so we're going to make the pastry following her recipe, except I am going to use the help of a food processor, and she probably cut the butter in by hand, but we're going to go ahead and use the food processor. So I'm putting in 4 cups of white all-purpose flour, and then we're going to add salt. And Josh is here, by the way. He's my husband, and
Hello.
He's the one talking behind the camera. He's in the chat and kind of polling questions, and as we have little breaks, he is going to be asking me questions that you all have. Now, I forgot to get the butter out because I wanted the butter to be really, really cold. So I'm gonna pull out 2 cups of butter. So this is a very buttery, delicious pastry. It's very, very much like a pie crust, but I do tend to work the butter in just a little bit more with this recipe than I do with a pie crust recipe. And this dessert has very simple ingredients in it. And so I am using a very high quality butter here because when there's not that many ingredients in a recipe, it's always nice to have as high quality ingredients as you can so that those shine through in the end. We're not having any like big, bold flavors that are gonna mask the delicious flavor of a high quality butter. I did add salt into my flour. I am also using salted butter because I think salted butter tastes better. And so I always use salted butter in my baked goods. I was just looking at Josh's grandma's recipe and it does not state whether to use salted or unsalted, so I'm using salted. I know some people, when they put salt in a baked good, then they use unsalted butter, or if they use salted butter, then they don't add salt. But I like salt in my baked goods. I like the sweet, salty balance to come through, so I use salted butter and salt. So I'm just going through and cutting these a little bit smaller so they'll work into this butter a little bit better. And I was talking to my mother-in-law on the phone today before I got ready, and I wanted to ask her about Banket and things like that. And so what this is, it's a pastry that's filled with almond paste. And I was looking at the calendar, and we're celebrating Christmas. We already celebrated Christmas with my side of the family last week, and we're celebrating with Josh's mom on Christmas Adam, so the day before Christmas Eve. And I didn't realize that's in 2 days. So I'm gonna be doing some Christmas shopping later this afternoon. Josh, are you done Christmas shopping?
I'm mostly done. Got a couple more things to pick up.
Some of the things that I'm gonna be going and picking up this afternoon are kind of like gifts from both Josh and I, two loved ones. And so we're gonna, well, I guess I have today, tomorrow, this evening and tomorrow to do it. Are you guys done Christmas shopping? Josh, you should put a poll.
I was going to do a poll. They seem to have moved where we could do, oh, I found it.
Okay. I normally am, excuse me, not this much of a last minute shopper. I'm gonna wash my hands real quick. But you all know that sickness fell upon this house, and so we're a little bit of a last minute shopping this year. But that's okay, as long as it gets done, that's all that matters. But Christmas did just kind of come up on me looking at the calendar. I was like, oh, we've got some baking we got to do. I had already planned to do all this baking with you, and so I was very grateful that I planned to do this because this is a dessert that we have to have on Christmas Day. So what I'm going to do is pulse my butter and flour together. Would help if my food processor was turned on. And I don't like to just turn this on and let it go. I like to pulse it, especially because we have 4 cups of flour in here and 2 cups of butter. That's a lot for this food processor. It does work though, because I did it this morning. There we go. Now, because this is so much ingredients, this is twice as much as a normal recipe of like my pie crust, I am not gonna add the water into the food processor. I'm gonna show you what this looks like. So these butter pieces are a little bit smaller than I would like if I was doing pies. You see those butter pieces? I actually think I wanna pulse this one more time if I can get this on here. Yeah.
We did have a question about, you mentioned it's salted butter, but where is the butter from? Or what butter is it?
This one is, it's from Azure. So I order most of my butter from Azure because I can get it in bulk. And this is you're gonna have to say that, Josh, because I'm not gonna know how to pronounce that correctly.
I can't quite see it.
Can you see it in
I've got to switch screens here.
Strata? No.
Strauss.
So this is a 85 butter fat content, and it's a European style, and it is an organic butter where it's from pasture-based cows. So I only have this butter here to show you right now, but my sister and I yesterday, sorry, I just interrupted myself. Not yesterday, on Monday, we made 12 gingerbread houses, and we went through a lot of butter, and because we weren't gonna be eating the gingerbread houses, I used some butter that I had got on sale. It was like a Thanksgiving sale. You know how grocery stores do that around the holidays, and I got it for like $2.30 a pound, which is a really good price per pound. And we did use all that butter, and I had to pull some of this butter out, and you could really tell the difference between the colors just because the cows are eating grass. And so the color of the butter was definitely a lot more orange or yellow. Pigmented. Oh, we're going to use this. So some of these butter pieces are a little bit large toward the bottom. So I'm just going to, let me show it to you so you can see. These are a little bit big. If I was making pie, I would just go with that. But because you're going to see how we're going to roll this pastry, I'm going to break this up a little bit more with my hands.
I'm going to ask a couple questions
Yeah,
because my Chrome tab's going to crash again.
Okay.
So we've got a couple of super chats.
Oh.
A couple before I forget or miss them is that we got from Lisa Smith. She says, just want to wish your family, a very happy Christmas, and thank you for all your videos encouraging us along the way for our families.
Merry Christmas.
From Lady Q, she sent a dancing lemon with maybe a pear friend, a sticker, and $50 Canadian.
Wow, thank
which
you.
is very generous and
Yeah.
not necessary, but very sweet. And then we have from MJ Homestead. She says, Merry Christmas. We need a little acre update. How is he doing? I am going to just say we try not to discuss him too much on this channel, but he's doing great. He's a sweet
awesome.
little boy. He's talking a bunch. He's got opinions.
Yeah.
But we'll leave it at that for now.
He's the best.
He is the best, for sure. And then from Robin McKerney, she says, I am trying... Oh, just crashed.
Oh,
Let me
shoot.
refresh. Classic. Let's hope it pops up. Oh, yeah. They are trying Banket for the first time, and they have some questions. So it says,
Yeah.
how different is the crust from a pie/short crust?
From a pie crust, it's very similar. Arguably, you could use a pie crust to make this. I wouldn't probably use store-bought just because the flavor of homemade is just far superior. But if this is your first time and you want to try it, you could use, or you could even use puff pastry. They're very, 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 very similar. So I'm happy with this crumb here. Like I said, the biggest difference is I do tend with Banket to try to have the butter be just a little bit smaller because we're going to be rolling this Banket. So I'm gonna wash my hands real quick.
Robin also asked, can it be made in individual pieces instead of cutting it? I think in regards to the crust or the dough.
I'm sure you could if you wanted to do individual ones. I think the reason why we like to cut it is because it just is a good ratio of pastry. But you know, I like the end piece because it has a lot of pastry, because when you make homemade pastry, it tastes delicious. So I'm sure you could. Oh, I wanted to say, Josh's mom was saying that one of her grandmas who made this, she rolled it into like a pinwheel, so you can get creative with it instead of rolling it like I'm gonna show you we're gonna roll it. So here I have 1 cup of ice water. I don't actually want the ice in here. I'm gonna put that in here to start. Then I'm gonna grab a fork because I don't really wanna work this with my hands too much more. And that's so cool that you're trying Banket for the first time.
It's super tasty.
Yeah. And now it's not Christmas. The flavor of Christmas doesn't feel like the flavor of Christmas without this. So, and I'm actually gonna freeze this, the stuff I make today. Josh's mom is making her Banket for the family Christmas we're having with her tomorrow. So this Banket is going to Josh's dad's house. So I'll just pop this in the freezer, pull it out the morning we're gonna have it, and it'll be ready to slice into on Christmas Eve, because we're gonna have this Banket that I'm making on Christmas Eve.
We have a couple messages about the newsletter.
Oh yeah, that's
if
a
you
good
signed
question.
Up, if you signed up, you're not missing them. We've
No.
just been busy and sick.
Yes.
So it hasn't come out for a few months. That's
Yes.
our bad.
So one thing that had to go when life just kind of blew up and got crazy is the newsletter. And that is one of my goals for 2025. Oh my gosh. Is to get back to writing that once a week, because I really enjoy writing it. And so one of my goals is to get back to that. So don't feel like you didn't sign up correctly or something like that. It's totally on my end. So now I can tell this is a little bit dry at the bottom. I want to try to use as little water as possible. This dough feels great. This feels dry. So I just left that in the bowl. I added a couple drops of water, and I'm going to mix this in. It is always best to try to use as little as water as possible, because this is going to sit in the fridge for quite some time and it will continue to hydrate, and you don't want it super sticky. So what Josh's grandma says, Grandma Ruth, on her card is she says to mix this up and have it sit in the refrigerator overnight. But as long as you're working with really cold butter and ice water and you don't handle it too much, you can work with it if you pop it in the fridge within an hour or so. And I actually made some pastry this morning, so as soon as I get this mixed up, I'll pull that out and we can get to rolling it out and making the pastry. I do have my oven preheated, by the way, to 400 degrees because that's the temperature we are going to be baking the banquette at. So I'm not kneading my pastry. You all have heard me say this so many times before. All I'm doing is pushing it together until all the crumbs kind of come together.
By the way, a little update on the poll.
Oh yeah.
It seems like you're not the only one that's a little behind. We only have a 61% on
that are
complete
dead?
shopping, so.
Wow. So I'm in good
39%.
company.
Yeah.
I'm in good company. Oh gosh, I don't have any time to order anything. I just realized there's one more present I need to get, so I better write that down after this so I don't forget. So there was just this crumbs here. I could tell it was a little dry. So you saw I just added a little water to this. I'm gonna work this together. So my shirt is, I'm just gonna go like that, getting in the way. Yesterday, we did a really fun holiday activity. My sister and I last Monday made up tons of gingerbread houses, and we had the house full last night, and we decorated gingerbread houses, which is the first time I remember actually decorating real gingerbread houses other than the one I made with you guys last year. Growing up, my mom, she always did, well, I think when I was little, before I can remember, she did do gingerbread houses. I'm gonna go wash my hands real quick so I can actually start shaping this pastry.
We did get a couple of more super chats here. One was redacted, but from Kelsey, she sent $10. And then from Crazy Mad Chick, she says, Merry Christmas. Oops, error, try again, I can't read it. Okay. Merry Christmas to you all from the UK. Have you tried Stollen? It's pronounced Stollen.
No.
It's a German Christmas bread that's made with marzipan and dried fruit. It's delicious.
See, are we making marzipan or almond paste to put in this?
I always get confused between marzipan and frangipan,
Yeah.
as they say on the British baking show.
We do like to watch that show. Okay, so what I'm doing now, I learned this trick from Claire Saffitz, is put your pastry in a piece of parchment paper, and to help you kind of get it into a good shape, is fold it into a square, and then try to have kind of sharp corners where you've taken your, because we're gonna have this in a square, not a round, because when we go to roll it out to form our banquette, it's gonna be a lot easier. So I'm gonna show you this up close. So do you see how I kind of have tight corners there? What I'm gonna do now is put the fold sides down under just so they don't come out. And I'm going to use my rolling pin and push this pastry into the corners and into the edges. And what that's gonna do is help work that flour and butter together. And as this sits in the fridge and the butter chills, the flour will hydrate, and I'll just have a nice, easier, like the edges won't be all cracky. You know, if you ever rolled out pastry before, it's the edges that can crack, and once they crack, it's really hard to kind of get them back. And by forcing them into that seam, it helps prevent that cracking. So we got one there. And then I'm gonna do this one real quick. Same thing. So we don't do like tons of gifts. So I don't have a ton of shopping I have to do. It just kind of came up quickly because being sick kind of lost, I don't know, 3 weeks of holiday season. And I just want to thank you all for your kind wishes and prayers and thoughts and telling me to take it easy and that, you know, not to worry about you all, that take care of myself. I did listen. There were a couple days where I was like, I'm gonna film a video. And I was like, nope, I can't. I don't have it in me to do it. And it was you in the back of my head that was telling me it's okay to rest and get better. So I just wanted to say thank you for all the support, because I really felt loved and taken care of and supported. And I feel 100% better. The only thing that's still kind of lingering is I don't feel like my stamina is 100% back. So I just have to remember to rest, but I feel a lot better. So these are ready to go in the fridge. So I'm gonna pop these in the fridge. And through the magic of television, we have one that's been chilling for a few hours. Actually, I just did this earlier today. I'm gonna take a second to wipe this. Oh, actually, I'm not gonna roll this out yet. We're gonna make our almond paste first.
So it does sound like what we're making for this is marzipan.
Marzipan? Okay.
I believe so. Someone
Josh
said
and
it was like a thicker almond paste.
Yes. Okay, that makes sense because, so this is where I'm gonna tell you how I'm gonna stray from Josh's grandma's recipe a little bit here. Wash my hands here. And I'm gonna wipe the counter and get this a little bit clean. So Josh's grandma's recipe calls for 1 pound of almond paste, 2 cups of flour, 3 beaten eggs, and almond extract. And when the first time I made this, I went to the store to buy almond paste, and it is almost $9 for 7 ounces at my grocery store. And I knew that I had almond flour in my, excuse me, in my freezer, because that's where I keep it. I'm gonna wash my hands real quick. Josh.
I am relaunching because the tab crashed again. I'm gonna just try Safari. We'll give that a go.
Okay, so the first time I went to the store to buy almond paste, because I was just gonna buy it, it was expensive. And I knew I needed at least 3 of them to make the recipe. So I thought, I'm gonna try making it from scratch myself, because I know that my mother-in-law has done that before. And so I thought, you know what, I could do it too. So that's where I came up with this filling ratio, and it's delicious. So I'll show you how I make it from scratch, where you don't have to buy the almond paste. And this food processor, I always forget how to put it together. But we're just gonna make the filling right in here. Yeah, there's butter and flour and stuff in here. I'm not worried about that. It'll be totally fine in here. So here I have almond flour. I do keep my almond flour in the freezer because it's basically just ground up almonds, and it could go rancid if you keep it in your pantry. For how little I use this, I want to keep it nice, so I keep it in my freezer. So I'm going to cut this recipe in half because, no, I think I'm going to make all of it, because I have an idea that on Christmas Day I want to make cinnamon rolls and filling this, well, almond rolls. I want to put this paste in cinnamon roll dough. So I need 3 cups of almond flour, and that was 2.5. I do have more right here, just in this bag.
So we do have a couple of super chats while you're doing that.
Okay.
From Christy, she sent a person with yellow hearts, a sticker, an animated sticker.
Thank you.
From Kelsey, she says, "Hi Becky, I hope you and your family had a Merry Christmas and have a blessed New Year. I absolutely love watching you cook, especially during the holidays with your mom and sister. You are so talented."
Thank you.
And then from Lisa Gibbs, she says, "Merry Christmas to you all." And from Erica, she says, "Wishing you and the family Merry Christmas. Thank you for being you. Hugs from Southern California."
Oh my goodness, thank you so much.
Very sweet.
Now this is where I am going to deviate from my own recipe just a little bit. You all know I have a hard time following my own recipe. Yesterday we made tons of royal icing. So I have like 14 egg yolks here. We're going to use this to make the eggnog. And instead of using, let me look at the recipe, 2 egg whites and 2 egg yolks, I put in 4 egg yolks in there, and we're gonna call that good. Just to use up the egg yolks that I already have, I think it'll just make it a little richer. And if I need to add some water to thin it out, I can do that because there's not as much moisture, but I think it's gonna be totally fine. So now I'm just looking at how much sugar I need to add. I'm gonna add 1.5 cups of white sugar. And this doesn't have to be totally, precise. I don't need to pull out the scale or anything like that because this is just the filling. And now I'm gonna add 1.5 cups of powdered sugar. This helps kind of thicken it up a little bit. So it's definitely like a thicker paste. I'm gonna add a pinch of salt.
Does it make a difference baking with frozen flour, or is it pretty similar to just non-frozen flour?
I use the frozen almond flour. I used it this morning and it turned out just fine. It is actually best if you chill the Banket logs, which I'll show you once they're made. And so I think it'll actually be a good thing to have a little bit of frozen flour in there. Now I just added in some almond extract. This is the key ingredient. And then this morning, this is not in my recipe either, I thought, why can't I add a splash of vanilla extract too? Now I didn't just pour the vanilla extract in here, I used the lid to measure it because the almond extract, I used the lid to measure it because almond extract is very strong and you don't want to overdo it.
Now, this is a question from someone. For baking, do you have to adjust recipes for egg quantities from home-raised eggs versus store-bought? Are they the same?
Sometimes you have to adjust because when you have homegrown eggs, they can come in all different shapes and sizes. But I don't know if you've noticed, but I've even noticed like at the grocery store when you buy large eggs, sometimes they're really small and you just have to sometimes go by the texture of what you're working with. And now this is all done, I think. Let me just double check to make sure I have everything in here. Yes. And now I'm gonna go ahead and just mix this until it's completely blended well. I might need to add another egg yolk in here. Yep.
I just read a message from Lynn2574 that says, I forgot to chill them last time and the almond filling spilled out of the pastry.
Yes, so that you have.
So it's important, I guess, to.
You have to be careful with the almond and the pastry. That's why I make my pastry, the butter, a little bit smaller because that is a risk. And sometimes it does, they explode. And this time when I baked my ones that are gonna be our taste test, I didn't have any explode, so that was a good thing. I'm gonna show you what I did to seal them so they didn't explode too, I think. Let's see, it's not wanting to mix.
The yolk's just kind of spinning around in there.
Yeah.
Somehow.
So what I would do if I were you is I would use the whole egg white or like follow the egg ratio on it. I just really want to use these egg yolks up. I might have to get in there with a spoon.
I could see it over on this side.
Yeah.
It's avoiding the blade somehow. It's impressive.
It's really thick. I think partly because it's cold. But I think it's going to be just fine. I'm going to put this in here. This consistency looks good. I just want to make sure it's mixed in properly. So I'm going to get a spoon. I'm going to get a nice thick spoon. And we're going to work this together. Excuse me. Sorry about that. So one year when we were making this with my mother-in-law, this was years and years and years ago, it was the first time she was playing around well before I ever tried to make this. And she was working on coming up with her own filling ratio that worked really well for her. And a lot of it exploded. but it kind of like bubbled around on the cookie sheet and it was really, really good. She did remake it because all the filling exploded out of the logs, and we just ate the kind of like caramelized filling, and then she remade it so that it was with a better ratio of liquid to paste, but it still tasted very good. It didn't go to waste even though they didn't turn out perfectly. Okay, so this is nice and thick, and it's almost totally mixed, and I see a little bit of egg yolk that I kind of want to get mixed in there. I'm gonna pop this into the fridge once it's well mixed, and then I'm gonna roll out my pastry. So what I was thinking would be really good, I've never seen this done, is to make this a little bit thinner, maybe cut it with some butter, and put this in cinnamon rolls. Instead of the cinnamon and butter mixture, use this, and I thought that would be really good. I might experiment with that for Christmas. And if I do, I will let you know how it goes. So we are done with this, so I'm gonna get this out of the way. I'm gonna get all of this moved over. I'm gonna give myself just a little bit more working space here. And I'm gonna wipe my counter one more time. And I'm gonna use this cold pastry, and we are gonna actually start assembling these, which is the fun part and a little stressful.
We did have a question from Patty Hostetler. It says, "Hi Becky, love your channel. I've shared you with so many friends. Quick question, where has your mother-in-law been? We miss seeing her in your videos."
You know, she's a busy lady. She works full time, and we do have plans to go live together soon. She's working today. She might be here in the chat, but I think the new year we're gonna go live together. That's our plan at least. But life happened a little bit this holiday season, so we weren't able to make it work before Christmas. That was our plan, but maybe in January we'll be able to make that happen. She has a bunch of other family traditional recipes that we were talking about that would be fun to make together. So now I have my pastry, and you can see that I have it in a square, and that's because when we go to roll this out to make our logs, it's gonna be a lot easier working with this in a square as opposed to a circle, because we need this in a rectangle form. And I'm having a little bit of cracking here. So if that happens, if your pastry starts to crack, I just push it together and try not to let that crack get too big before you work it. We want this at about 15 inches long. This part doesn't have to be exact by any means, like how long it is. I say 15 inches by 4 inches, but it doesn't have to be exact. And I have a little dish of water here.
So I guess the question is that we have.
Have you heard of it? 'Cause you're the
No,
one
I haven't.
that's Dutch.
So no, we haven't made that.
No.
That was a question from Lynn.
So I'm not Dutch. My like heritage is German and Italian. On my mom's side of the family, it's more Italian. And on my dad's side, I think it's like German and a little bit of French.
We also have a message from Andy. It says, "Hey Becky, greetings from Austria.
Wow.
Are we going to see more of you still this year? Hope you have a Merry Christmas and Blessed New Year."
Yeah. I don't have any plans to go anywhere. Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So I want these about 15 inches by 4-inch logs, or you'll see. I need it about 15 inches, and I like this. So my countertops are granite tile, so that's why I use this silicone mat all the time. But the nice thing is there is a ruler on it, so I can pull it out if I need to and not have to pull out an extra ruler. Now I'm gonna grab my other rolling pin because I pulled out that rolling pin and it's not letting me get this as thin as I want because it has guides on the side.
We also got a super chat from Kim H for $50. And she said, "Here's a donation for the charity you support. I hope
thank
you all have a
you.
wonderful, happy, and safe holiday season.
That's so sweet.
Thanks for being you." We will definitely add that.
Yeah, we will. Yeah, that's something we want to do more and more of.
There is a way to do, like, to support charities directly on YouTube, but we have not. I was looking through the list, and the one that we are supporting this year isn't in the list. But when they do that, they put the money directly into a fund so that there's no like tax taken out and stuff. So
YouTube like doesn't take their
Their
cut.
cut.
They have it go toward the charity.
yeah,
But the one that we are supporting this year is a local,
food bank.
yeah, so it would make sense that it wouldn't be on that list. Okay, so here we have this rolled out nicely, and I want 4-inch, let's see, put this here. What I used this morning to cut this was my pastry knife, because, where do you think I put it? Did I put it in the sink?
What does that one look like?
It's like a white, oh yeah, I put it right here.
Oh, a scraper?
Yeah, I put that in the sink, so I'm not gonna use that. I will just use a butter knife. But if you have a, not a pastry knife, that's a bench scraper. If you have a bench scraper.
I was gonna say, when I worked at Subway as a youth, that's what we used to scrape stuff. So
Yeah, that would be better than what I'm gonna do, but just because I don't really wanna cut with a sharp knife on this silicone mat. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna tidy up the edges just a little bit, just so that we have something, a nice clean pastry that we're working with, like a dough that we're working with. And that's where the cracks tend to be. So I'm just going to kind of sacrifice a little bit of the edges for the greater good. You could bake those up and put like cinnamon sugar and stuff on them if you wanted to. So here I'm gonna count 1, 2, 3, 4, and I'm just gonna eyeball that, let's see, right here. And we're gonna cut strips out of our pastry. 1, 2, 3, 4. That looks close enough. 1, 2, 3, 4. I actually probably will use this. I'm going to show you how I will work on sealing the edges.
Someone recommended using a pizza cutter.
Oh, that would be good.
That's actually a pretty good idea.
The reason I chose this knife is just because it's not very sharp. I didn't really want it to cut my silicone mat. So here I've got.
What pizza cutter is sharp anymore?
That's true.
I feel like they all get dull so quickly.
That's true. So what I think I'm gonna do, because it's kind of warm in here because we have a light on, is I'm going to ask Josh to put 2 of these in the fridge for me, just so these stay cold while I work on filling this one. And what I might do as well is turn you down just a little bit.
Do you want me to put these
just in the fridge?
just in?
Yeah. I'm just gonna tilt you down, so there you go. Okay, now you can see a little better. So how I filled this morning, and it worked really good because our filling is stiff, is I just used cookie scoop, and I don't want to put it all the way at the end because we do need to seal the end. This is a little bit stiffer than it was this morning, so I actually could probably just pull it and roll it. Yeah.
Pull it and roll it?
Pull it. Yes. Hopefully that doesn't mean anything.
It just rhymes. It's kind of fun.
And then, so we want to make sure we leave a little end there. And I mean, it doesn't have to be exact. We don't want to overstuff it because we don't want our pastry to explode. And then what I did this morning that worked really well is I took this from making croissants, is I took my rolling pin, and on the edge that I'm going to seal it, is I just took it and I flattened it out. Can you see that? Yeah, you can see that. Then I'm going to take some water, which is glue, and I'm going to put water on that edge, and then I'm going to roll it. I may have overstuffed this. Hopefully, if I did, I did. Okay, I was a little too generous with the filling. All that means is I can just take a little bit off. And then I'm gonna roll it on top of itself.
Wow, that looks great.
Thank you. And then, because I flatten that edge, it's gonna be really easy for me to then seal it. And it's a little bit wet, so it's kind of acting like glue. And just like that, we've sealed it. And now I'm just gonna pinch the ends. This I didn't put too much over here, so I'm just gonna fold that up. I have a little more pastry than I need. And then I'm gonna pop this in the fridge while I make the other two, so that this pastry can get nice and cold again. And I'm gonna do that 2 more times. So while I'm doing this, if you have any questions, that would be perfect time. Actually, it's a lot easier to roll that out before you stuff it.
Yeah, I didn't want to ask anything while we were so focused on the rolling part, but
Okay.
we have a question from Julie. Says, I was curious if you've tried freeze drying fruit and then blitzing it into a powder to flavor things like tea.
I have done that for baking. I've never done tea before. That's a fantastic idea. I've colored shortbreads with it. So at Valentine's Day, I think it's my Valentine's Day baking day, we make strawberry shortbreads with strawberry powder. And so they're pink and beautiful and taste fantastic. And then we also did strawberry Rice Krispies, which was incredible too.
And then we have a couple people asking what we're making because they showed up late.
Oh.
And it's Banket.
Which is a Dutch pastry. It's basically kind of like a pie crust pastry that you fill with
Marzipan.
perfect timing.
I'm getting it.
Yeah. So we're gonna seal the edge, and then we're gonna make eggnog while this bakes in the oven, which is really easy. You're just coming along with me because Christmas is around the corner, and I need to get some Christmas baking done. And so we're just having fun in the kitchen doing that so that we could do it before Christmas.
I think we need to add a poll of, do you like eggnog?
Oh yeah, definitely.
Or do you find it repulsive?
I know. I feel like I'm probably in the minority there with liking it, but homemade does not taste like store-bought. It's so good, especially in a latte. Okay, second one done. I'm getting a little quicker at it.
There's like raw egg in it, isn't there? Or do you like cook it or something?
No, we're gonna cook it.
Okay.
Oh, yeah,
That's
so
less
friends.
repulsive.
I'll bring you up so I'm not. Let me make sure you can still see though. I could do it this way. So we are going to cook the eggs. So if that idea, because some eggnog recipes, the eggs are raw and I cook it. So I'll show you how I do that. Okay.
We do have some super chats in the meantime too.
Oh, awesome.
Shannon sent $20. Thank you.
Thank you.
And then Nancy, I don't know if I should read this one because it almost seems like maybe I paid Nancy off for this, but she said, Josh is a real treasure. Don't lose him. Merry Christmas.
He is. He's pretty awesome.
And I'm not going anywhere. Don't
Yeah.
worry about that.
I sure hope not.
Becky brings way more to the table than I do
That's not true.
in terms of just about everything. So
That's not true.
I'm the lucky
This
one.
channel would not be here if it wasn't for Josh. Let me just tell you that. He's very helpful. Okay, so here we are filling the last one. Were you going to say something? I may have just cut you off.
Well, we have one more from
okay.
Charmaine that says, love and happiness to your family.
Oh, thank you. This feels really good to be in, oh, you're not, I'm not, I don't have to bend over anymore. To be in the kitchen doing this. It was so fun yesterday decorating, if you were gingerbread houses yesterday, which we'll bring you guys, we do bring you guys along for that whole thing. That was a lot of fun. But it feels good to be like in the Christmas spirit because I missed basically 3 weeks of when I would normally be doing a lot of candies and cookies, and I didn't get to any of that, really, except for the gingerbreads. So this feels good. My last log here, I'm going to pinch the ends. Now, this was half of a recipe's worth of dough here, so you get basically 6 banquettes per recipe. And this was a whole recipe worth of almond paste because I'm going to use this for something else later. So that's why I have extra. Or I could make more banquette, I guess, because I have that pastry we just made together. Okay, so this is going to go in the fridge. And I do think I want those to chill a little bit before I put them in the oven, just because it's so warm in here with the lights on and everything, that we're going to get going on making our eggnog.
We're about split on the poll as well. It's a 58% yes.
Okay.
A lot of people saying the idea makes them sick. But I think cooking the egg is a huge thing, because I always thought there was raw egg in it, and that's kind of what gave me the ick with eggnog. But knowing that it's cooked, that's tolerable.
Well, and there's a lot of, like, I think traditional eggnog, you basically, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but I've seen some videos, like, I don't know if any of you have watched the Townsend.
The Townsends?
Yeah, he's like he cooks a lot from like this, like 1702 to like 18, what would be that, like the 1700s and the 1800s. He cooks a lot of like original recipes. And I feel like I watched him make an eggnog where it was just like alcohol and they would crack eggs into it. But we're not doing anything like that. I'll show you, it's delicious. So I'm gonna wash my hands again. So if you have anything you wanna say, Josh, or questions.
Let me look back through them. I've been just answering a few of them in chat. Is it spelt banquet, B-A-N-K-E-T? Yes, we double-checked, triple-checked. I thought for sure it was like B-O-N-Q-U-E-T or something, because it seems like it shouldn't be spelled how it's spelled, but I'm fairly certain it's B-A-N-K-E-T, like bank-et.
Yeah. Okay, so here we go. I have some of my ingredients out already so that I could just pull them over here. We have whole milk, heavy cream, cinnamon, fresh nutmeg. I have a pot over here. And then I have a bunch of egg yolks. And the reason I decided I was gonna do this was not because I realized Christmas is in 2 days that we're celebrating, so I can enjoy this on Christmas, is because I had all these egg yolks because we made so much royal icing. And I thought, what could I do with those that sounds good? And eggnog sounded good. And then I realized 2 hours ago that it's perfect because I can bring this to Christmas morning. Now I do have to look at this because I haven't made this in a year. And I need to put sugar in this bowl. And I personally do not like my eggnog very sweet. And you can play around with the sweetness levels. I am going to put, the recipe calls for a half a cup, and I'm going to put a half a cup into my egg yolks because I'm going to add a little extra milk because I have a little extra egg yolks in here. And now what I'm going to do is add milk. If you're ever wondering why I'm always shaking my milk, is because I buy my milk from a local dairy and it's non-homogenized. So the cream separates from the milk on the top. So what I'm doing is I'm mixing the cream back into the milk. So it's a whole milk. Now I'm gonna add some heavy cream. This is just store-bought heavy cream. And you can really play around with this a lot. It's super forgiving. If you only had half and half, you could use that. If you wanted a lighter eggnog, just use milk. If you wanted a heavier eggnog, add more cream. It's more about like the technique than the actual ratios here. I think I'm gonna add a little bit more milk because I have more egg yolks there. I don't know exactly how many egg yolks those are in there because I've been using them for the banquette. So I'm gonna grab a whisk. And what I wanna do is, well, let me get my spices in here first. And I think, I've never tried it before, but I was just thinking as I was adding the sugar in here, you could probably sweeten it with honey or with maple syrup would be really good. I've never tried that before, but I don't know why you couldn't do that. Now I'm gonna take a lot of cinnamon. So we are gonna strain this when it's done being cooked. So I'm gonna add more cinnamon than the recipe calls for because most of this is gonna come out of the final eggnog. And I want some in there. this is not a microplane. That's not gonna get my nutmeg grated. This will though. So now I'm gonna put some fresh nutmeg in here. And I like nutmeg, so I'm gonna probably put half of this
Nutmeg.
nut seed. I think this is technically a seed, even though it's called a nut. Are nuts seeds?
No comment. I don't know.
I don't know.
I don't know. I think it's like a fruit in some cases.
Well, it's kind of funny because
we shouldn't talk about this.
Yeah.
We're
Is it
uneducated and we should know.
well, I could embarrass myself. So we're like shelling the I'm shelling the black beans, right? And I'm thinking I knew this, but it was just kind of dawned on me that beans are seeds. Like when I think of eating a seed, I think of eating like sunflower seeds or like sunflower seeds. But beans are a seed. So I don't know. I just think that's funny.
Have your parents tried Banket?
I don't think so.
We're not sure if they like it.
I was, I don't think my dad would like it. I don't think but I didn't think I would like it when I first met Josh's family. I actually didn't like it because I didn't like the flavor of almond paste. Because I don't like maraschino cherries, and I always associate almond flavor with maraschino cherries. I don't like cherries of any kind. And so I didn't like it, but then it's grown on me. And now I love that flavor. I don't like maraschino cherries, but I do like the flavor of almond extract. And I just learned what almond extract, like where they get the flavor of almond extract. It's actually from the pits of stone fruit. So if you want to make your own almond extract, I think we were talking about that once in a live, like what is almond extract? And I watched a video on how to make it after I threw away all of my peach pits from canning peaches and doing peach things. Because if you crack open like a peach pit, it's stone fruit. So like peaches, nectarines. If you crack open, there's a seed inside the pit. And if you soak those seeds in alcohol, that's the flavor of almond extract. So
no, nutmeg is a seed.
Is it a seed?
Someone has Googled it for us.
Thank you.
But I don't know about all other nuts.
I don't think a cashew is
like a
nut.
Cashew. I think is like
a fruit.
the fruit.
Yeah.
But also maybe
part
it's
of the
just not a
fruit.
nut. So
Yeah, I don't know. Okay, so I just put our milk mixture on the stove. Again, you can play around with the ratios of milk to cream. If you want it more decadent, add more cream. If you want it lighter, just add milk. And then now I'm whisking my sugar and my egg yolks together because this will help prevent scrambling our eggs. Now what we're doing is we're basically pasteurizing these egg yolks. So what we need to do is get our milk up to 160 degrees. So I just put my thermometer in there. I love this thermometer because it's got a big digital screen and I can see that from far away. I can see that from here. We're at 72 degrees Fahrenheit right now. And this is just gonna add like richness and decadent the egg yolks to it. You have to be careful when you're making eggnog. The more you cook it, the thicker it's gonna be. And I don't want like a thick pudding-like eggnog. I want it to still be light. And so I just bring this up to temperature to pasteurize them or cook them.
we have some more intel here. So
good.
nutmeg trees apparently have a yellow fruit.
Okay.
And the nutmeg that you just ground is a seed from that fruit.
Yes. Yeah, I did know that.
I wonder what the yellow fruit tastes like.
I don't know.
Or is it just something you discard?
I didn't know the yellow fruit part, but I did know that there is a hard shell on around the nutmeg seed that I just ground. Because you guys have heard the story before, but when we were in Jamaica, I bought some nutmeg fresh from a guy selling it, and they did have like a hard shell, and I was confused by it at first.
How do you microplane the end of the seed? Like, how do you get the last bits of it without killing your finger?
I mean, it's just a rescue play. I don't know. You just have to hold it carefully. Oh, and I do want to mention, so if you were with me before all the Christmas stuff, no, was it before Thanksgiving? I think before Thanksgiving, we did a big organization in these drawers, and I'm happy to report that things are staying organized and everything is labeled not only on the side but on the top. So that's really nice. My sister was here doing a bunch of baking and was really nice for her to have labels on everything, because before that there were no labels on anything. I'm just putting this stuff away because I'm waiting.
Are you boiling the eggnog?
No, you don't want to boil it.
Because then there's someone that said, oh, I kind of lost it here. Since you're boiling the eggnog, is it kind of a custard?
I think you could argue that eggnog is a custard, but we're not boiling it. We're just bringing it up to 160 degrees.
Okay.
Because that is the temperature that will pasteurize the eggs. You can put in raw eggs. There's lots and lots of recipes out there, but because this will sit in my fridge for a little bit of time, because I'm not going to go through this amount quickly, because really the only way that I serve this is I make eggnog lattes, or for dessert, I might have a little bit with a little bit of rum or something in it, but then you're just having like a little bit. So the amount that I'm making is going to go a long way, and I will be bringing this to Christmas Adam at Josh's mom's house so that I can share it, because I wouldn't be able to go through all this because Josh does not drink eggnog. So
I think I'll have this one though. I used to love it as a kid before before I analyzed what it was.
Well, I don't even know if the eggnog in stores, I've never really looked at the ingredients. I don't even know if they really have much egg in them. Maybe they do, I don't know.
And it's probably cooked if it is.
I would think so. It'd be pasteurized at the very least.
We have a question about that thermometer you're using. Is that a ThermoPro or ThermoPro?
It's a ThermoPro. Yeah, Josh can.
I'm looking for it. I think that one might be an old model that's no longer.
No,
They have newer versions.
Do they?
It looks like. I
You
can link a newer version.
I just love it because making candies with, I used to have, like the traditional, while this is coming up actually to temperature, what we can do is, oh no.
Oh, I found it.
I used all my egg yolks. I'm still going to use this actually. So.
This is a $20 thermometer, by the
Yeah,
way.
it wasn't expensive. But I used the traditional ones that, let me see where my third piece is. Like the ones that have the red thing on them. That's what my mom had growing up. So when I became an adult and I bought one, I bought that same one and I just never liked it because it was hard to read. And this you can just see just like that. Okay, so I was gonna use one of those egg whites to brush the top, or egg yolks to brush the top of my pastry with it so we get a beautiful brown color. I can tell this is definitely colder than it was when we made it. It's firmed up quite a bit. I don't really care that there's a little bit of sugar in there. That will help with browning. When I was talking to Renee this morning, she said she actually sprinkles sugar on the top, and I'm not gonna do that. I'm just gonna do this. And I'll show you the ones that I made this morning. I thought I would sprinkle with slivered almonds, and I'm not gonna put slivered almonds on these ones because that is not Josh's favorite.
I mean, it's beautiful.
It is pretty. I did it because it was pretty. And I think it'll add a nice crunch because it is kind of a soft dessert. It's flaky because the pastry's flaky. I see one little potential crack here that I'm a little worried about. I've never baked this and had none of them explode. So if one explodes, it is what it is.
Well, even the ones that you made this morning weren't without disaster.
Oh yeah, if you saw on Instagram. So my dogs are 9.5 years old, and you would think that I would have learned to put things not close to the edge of the counter because you have seen them jump up and they can surf on the counters.
Especially Orbit. He's a little stinker.
Yeah, it's Orbit that really does it. And one of my Bankets this morning has a nice Orbit-sized bite out of it. I caught him relatively quickly, but there is a bite out of it. Okay, so I'm gonna pop these in the oven just like this. I'm not gonna put almonds on these. Josh's grandma Ruth, the one who I have her recipe card, she would put maraschino cherries on the top for a little bit of bright Christmas cheer.
Yeah.
I feel like that's the first time I ever saw the Banket was when your mom, the first Christmas I ever went to with your family, and that was what I remember. And I think just seeing the cherries kind of was like, I don't know if I'm gonna like that. Okay, so we're at I'm gonna bring this over here just so you can see better, but normally I would do this right on the stove. We are at, we're a little bit warmer. We're at 167 Fahrenheit, which is fine. What I'm gonna do is temper these eggs. I'm just gonna do this over here so you can see it better than if I did this on the stove. I'm gonna take a little bit of my hot liquid. I think this might be a few more egg yolks than I need. I don't want to add too much egg because I don't want it to be too thick. I just want it to be nice and creamy. So I'm going to start with this, and I can add more if I need to. I can't take away. And I can add more sugar too if I need to. Again, follow a recipe. This is just me in my kitchen. You're just seeing how I'm using things up for real life Christmas.
And we do have the recipe linked down in the description
they're in the description box. So tempering just means you're slowly bringing up eggs to temperature so we don't scramble them. And I will strain this because I want a really smooth, pleasant texture. And so you'll see how I'm going to strain this to make sure we achieve that. I always go way overboard on the tempering because I'm paranoid about it. So I could probably dump this into here right now, but I don't see the harm in just mixing a little bit more. Oh, Josh, do you want to set a timer for 20 minutes for the banquet? It's probably going to take more like 30, but...
Siri, set a timer for 20 minutes.
Okay. I think that's probably good. Let me feel, yeah. So now what I'm gonna do is start mixing this, and I'm gonna slowly pour this in while I'm mixing. Ah!
We've gotten a couple of g'days from some Australian people.
Oh, good days?
G'day, yeah, G apostrophe days.
Oh, I love that.
I've seen a few of them come through, so I thought it was worth mentioning.
I thought you said bidets.
Bidets,
and
no.
I was very confused.
No.
That's awesome. Are you guys enjoying your summer? I think that's so cool that you guys have Christmas in the summer.
Yeah, it's pretty neat.
Okay, so what I'm gonna do now is pop this back on the stove, have it come back up to temperature for just like a minute or so. Again, the longer I cook this, oh, sorry, let me stand over here. The longer I cook this, the thicker it's gonna be. I do not want a pudding-like consistency. I just wanna temper these eggs. The egg dropped down to 151 Fahrenheit. And so we've got about 9 degrees to, oh, the stove's off. I turned it off.
Oops.
Let me turn that back on. And then, yeah, I think that was probably enough egg. I don't know what I'm gonna do with this egg yolk now, but I'm super happy with how many egg yolks I went through today because I think I had a total of like 18 egg yolks in that bowl, and now we probably have about 4 or something.
That was a pretty good use.
Yeah. My sister was like, you could make lemon curd. And I was like, I don't feel like juicing that many lemons right now. That's why I came back to the eggnog idea. Okay, so what I'm gonna do is show you what the banquet looks like coming out of the oven, because that banquet won't come out of the oven for a good 30 minutes or so. And you can see the almonds that I put on here that are toasted. I love the look of that. I'm gonna love the crunch of that. Josh likes the flavor of almonds. He doesn't like the texture that nuts bring to baked goods.
It's kind of like eggnog in the sense that I like how it tastes. I don't like to approach what's in it.
Yeah.
I have a question from Aaron Swan that says,
Yeah.
actually I've seen this maybe a couple people have asked this about
Same question.
what my favorite Christmas memory is.
Oh, that's a beautiful, I know what it is.
Well, you might. Actually, it's when I lived in Holland, Michigan for a year, which is very appropriate because this is a very Dutch episode.
Yeah.
I got a drum set, my first drum set. I was in 5th grade, and I got a drum set for Christmas. And my dad was a bit of a stinker. He's still a bit of a stinker, but he likes to make gifts memorable. in the sense that he likes to have a little fun with it. So he gave me first a couple of cymbals, and we were going to basically put those on my makeshift. I had like some popcorn tins that were kind of made into a drum set. And he said, oh, you can use those cymbals with that. And maybe over the next couple of Christmases, we'll give you a couple drums here and there. In a couple of years, you'll have a drum set. And so that was pretty memorable for me. Of course, at the end of the gift giving on Christmas, after about half an hour of thinking that I was going to assemble a drum set over 2 years, he pulled out a full drum set for me. That's pretty memorable. That was an exciting Christmas. I was a bit beside myself on that one.
And that's the same drum kit that Josh was using the whole time I knew him, up until
Before we moved here.
Yeah.
I gave it to a young aspiring drummer.
Yeah.
To save some space.
So Josh is hoping for Christmas a drum kit this year.
I do need a replacement.
Yeah. Well, now you have a space to put it too, which is nice. So I can tell this is not quite sweet enough, and it could use a little bit more richness. So I'm going to go ahead, add about half more, maybe a little bit more of that egg yolk sugar mixture over there that I have. Maybe a little more. And then we're going to cut into the banquet, and we're going to give it a little taste test. And I can show you what it looks like on the inside, because it's definitely an interesting dessert. It kind of reminds me of something that you would see on the British baking show. I never can remember exactly how that show is named, but you all know what I'm talking about. Okay, so I'm gonna get this back on the stove, have this come back up to 160. Should only take a second. Sorry about the beeping. Okay. Okay, so let's cut into this. I think a serrated knife would be best, and I think I already got it out. Yeah, I put it over here. So you do want to let this cool completely before you cut into it. And this is how we serve it, just in little rounds, like 1-inch rounds or so.
Are you supposed to put slits in it before you bake it?
I don't think so.
Grandma's recipe, it does say.
Does it?
Every 3 inches.
Here, I'm going to pick the almonds off for you, Josh.
My grandma's recipe says prick holes in crust about 2 inches apart. But the ones you made this morning don't have that, and they seem to have turned out.
And I feel like I never did that because I don't want the paste coming out. You see how flaky that is? Josh is trying it.
Oh, I kind of jumped the gun.
Oh, that's okay.
That's really good. I like too that you don't go crazy with the sugar. Mm-mm. I feel like it's easy to overdo the sugar, and then you kind of lose some of the almond. You can eat more like this because it's healthier. I'm kidding.
So good.
That's perfect. Very crumbly crust.
Mm-hmm. So what we do at my mother, or what she does, I should say, is we usually have brunch, and then we hang out and play games. And when we do that, there's like, cheese and deviled eggs, and I'm going to bring the cranberry cream cheese dip, and then this is cut. Usually there's a couple sticks, and they're cut like that. And so it's just part of, we don't usually eat it for like dessert. We usually eat it as like a nibbly-on snack throughout the day. Okay. And this is at temperature.
The eggnog got to 158, so it's perfect.
And I'm sure it's actually hotter once I mixed it. It'll take a second. And
there is quite a few people urging you not to forget the eggnog, so
yeah, thank you.
Good timing.
Yeah, this is plenty hot. The salt level in that is really good too because it balances out the sweetness that we have. Okay, so I do strain my eggnog because I have been known to have little bits of cooked egg yolk, which you don't want. Let's see if I can do this without making a mess. Oh, I should probably taste, well, it's too late now. I'm gonna go with it. If I need to sweeten it up a little bit more, I will sweeten it up with maple syrup, because I think that would be good. But I don't think I'm gonna need to. So I basically kind of use this as like a coffee creamer, like a homemade coffee creamer. And I am making a little bit of a mess, but I'll clean it up so it'll be fine. And this does kind of separate when it sits in the fridge, especially because well, the milk is not raw anymore, but the non-homogenized milk, but the spices do separate a little bit. Can I do this? Yes.
Nice. That's working out better than expected.
I know. Okay, so I made just perfect. Okay. I'm going to show you what came through the strainer. So you can see quite a bit of cinnamon, and there are a couple pieces of cooked egg in there. So that's why I strain it, because no one wants that texture in their eggnog. Okay, I'm gonna give this a taste test. Oh yeah. You wanna taste it, Josh?
Yeah, I'll try it.
I mean, warm eggnog is not the end all be all. I like my eggnog, unless it's in a latte, I like my eggnog when I have it over ice.
Yeah, I feel like cool is generally
Yeah.
I'd have it.
And this is not crazy thick either.
Oh yeah, that's good. It's got
Yeah.
good spice to it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And so
it's
you
really
can kind of see, you can see how like the spices are suspended in there, and there is some thickness and some richness to it because of the egg, but it's not a pudding-like consistency because you don't want that. So the key is not to overcook it. So it does help to have a thermometer just so you know, because you really don't want to
Become
boil
a custard.
this.
If it comes a custard, that's a little different experience.
I've overcooked it before, and it's
I wonder if
a
you'd
weird texture. It's
almost. I wonder
not
if you'd call
slimy.
that a spiced eggnog, because it's almost like when you get eggnog at the store, I don't think it has that much like cinnamon and nutmeg in it, and you'd maybe put it on top.
You do, yeah.
Whereas this is like in it.
Yeah.
It's very good.
So that's eggnog, that's banquet, two things that I have always at Christmas, and I'm really glad that I was able to get this done today. My kitchen is a disaster. You can't see it all because I've been pushing it back, but at least my dishwasher is unloaded, so I will let this cool down completely because now it's 160 degrees. I don't want to put this hot thing into my fridge. The banquets are cool. I'm just going to wrap those up in probably 2 layers of saran wrap, pop those in the freezer. And on Christmas Eve, when we go to Josh's dad's house, I'm going to pull those out and we will serve those along with these two. And so far, none of those have exploded in there. So that is good. So I just want to thank you all so much. Josh, do you need to say anything before we go?
Nope.
Okay. So I just want to thank you all for being here as we got some of this Christmas baking done. I'm really grateful to have this time today to get it done, and thank you for coming along with me as I got it done. If you want to watch some more videos, I'll pop them here. You can go enjoy between now and my next upload. These recipes will be linked down below if you want to try them, and I hope you're having a very